right, welcome everybody to the WCBT's first live press conference, brought to you by myself, Kerry Kreitz, and 5-Pin Universe. We are going to introduce our media people for these interviews, this quick conference here. First of all, we have from 5-Pin Universe, Mr. Daryl Bradley. Thank you very much for joining us and representing 5-Pin Universe in this press conference.
Yeah, buddy. Happy to be here, and it's a cool idea. Something that we'll do for all the tournaments ongoing, and continue to build on it. So glad to represent 5-Pin U today. Here we go.
Perfect. And we'll bring in our second media member. We have from the old 5-Pin bowling blog of Canada. Not sure if he's ever going to bring it back, but we have Mr. Jeff Young.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Thank you very much for representing the media and 5-Pin bowling from Ontario area and asking some of our participants the tough questions, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's just exciting to be talking about a bowling tournament.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, and then all the way from the east, as he likes to call it, the 260 bowler, JB Rainsberger.
Hi, folks. Thanks very much for letting me take part in this. It's nice to be able to be part of the media if I can't be part of the tournament.
That's right. We're happy to do this for the 48th Annual Autumn Open, and we hope it's something that we can continue on for the rest of the WCBT for sure, and maybe it grows into something more for the other tournaments. And then last but not least, we have from Manitoba, been a huge supporter of everything 5-Pin Universe is doing, has helped us out a bit, and we're happy to help her have her part of the media group, Amanda Davini.
Hello, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I hope you have some great questions for all these lucky bowlers.
Hopefully I do. Some hard-hitting Manitoba, low-averaging questions. Female perspective, maybe.
Yeah. So for the audience and the fans watching this, the media are going to go through the participants, ask some questions, they're going to rotate through, and this isn't a long-winded podcast like we're famous for. It'll be quick and to the point, and hopefully get the best knowledge we can from all the participants. So within 1 minute here, we'll bring in our first participant, and we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. All right, our first participant, he is the Autumn Open representative. He's also an Autumn Open champion, and he is representing the host as well, Paradise Lanes, Mr. Mark Miller.
Hey, Kerry, how's it going?
Good. So we'll start this round off. Mr. Daryl Bradley, have at her.
Right on. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the press conference.
Thanks,
first
Daryl.
question for you. Just want to, touch base about how it feels for Paradise Lanes to be a host of such a prestigious event. Obviously, Paradise is going to its 14th year. You've had some great people before you, and Toppler for 10 years and Chinook for a whole bunch of years. Touch base on what it means for Paradise to be hosting such a prestigious event on the tour for us.
That's a good question. For sure. Paradise got offered the chance to take over the Autumn Open 14 years ago, before my time, but I still keep in touch with the original creators of the Autumn Open, Don Sim and Barry Ellert, and I wasn't really sure what I was getting into when Adam Weber kind of handed the reins to me, but it's been a roller coaster. It's been really, really good the last few years, with the introduction of the WCBT. And now that the Autumn Open has kind of gotten past that cash event prejudice and is now recognized throughout the bowling community as a great event where the best 5-pin bowlers can come together and compete. I couldn't be more proud to have Paradise Lanes on my shirt and to be hosting it for the 14th time at Paradise Lanes.
Nice, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super proud.
So, Mark, everyone always talks about if you're maybe the host and you're competing in a tournament. They talk about the advantages you have of knowing the center and sleeping in your own bed, etc. What are some of the disadvantages or challenges that you find when you're the host center and you're also a competitor?
The biggest challenge is just finding, bringing in a team around you that you can trust, where, because obviously you want to focus on the bowling. At the same time, you want to see the event go well. And a good team will ensure, at least for me personally, that when a problem arises, I'm not aware of it until after I'm done bowling. I think you need to surround yourself with great volunteers, with great staff members, and people who really care. And if you can do that, then the challenges of running the tournament isn't as tough. But no, you're always looking, right? If a machine's not quite working right, or if somebody's having an issue with the front counter, you kind of notice that stuff, but you trust your team and the people you surrounded yourself with to be able to take care of that situation for you, to ensure that the event is run successfully.
So, Mark, I know that building on what Jeff just asked about and your comments about the team that you need with you in order to make this event a success. As a bowler walking into a tournament, there's lots of stuff that we see. There's the obvious things that we see: the conditions of the lanes, the scoreboard being updated in a timely fashion, blah blah blah.
Right.
What are maybe one or two of the thankless jobs that you and your team are going to have to take care of? The kinds of things that maybe the bowlers don't recognize or don't see right away, but that really are critical to making an event like this successful.
It comes down to the volunteers and putting in their time and effort for the game and not wanting anything in return, wanting to ensure that the event is successful. The more I've done this, the more I've learned. You need to be ready for the weekend. You need to have everything. You need to have your dominoes in a row, right? But the volunteers don't get enough credit. And I know I'd like to take an opportunity right now to say thank you to all of the sponsors. We go out, and I wasn't expecting anybody to be able to donate much this year. We don't know what's going on with COVID. I know business has been slow, and all of our local sponsors stepped up, and were able to put $3,500 additional dollars into the tournament. So these business owners who love bowling, it goes above and beyond for us high-end bowlers to be able to compete, to reduce the lineage. And I just can't say enough about the sponsors and the volunteers for an event like this. Of course, the staff as well. But yeah, no, for sure, something like that, and just it's a lot of prep work. It takes a community to make this thing happen.
Is there something that the bowlers out there should try to show some appreciation for that they ordinarily would overlook?
Just say thank you. Just go to the front, go to a pin chaser, see if they come out of the back. Just say thank you. It's long days back there. It's a long weekend for everybody, and I get probably too much credit that I need, because I'm just kind of the face of it. But if you see anybody in a Paradise shirt or anybody volunteering, just a quick thank you would just mean the world to them.
Okay, I guess my turn. My question is as simple as why bowling, as someone who spends so much time working in bowling, competing in bowling, preparing all sorts of bowling tournaments. Why bowling?
Oh, it's just bowling has taught me. I did a lot of sports at a young age, and and bowling has always treated me personally the right way. I've met many great people through bowling. My current wife, Melinda, we met through bowling, and the sport has just given me so much. I just want to give it back, and I want others to see that the sport and the community that it's involved in gives back. I'm lucky enough to be in a home that's been through bowling, and I still love it to this day. It could be frustrating for sure, but I love bowling. I love the adrenaline of bowling. I love the people associated with it, and I wouldn't be in my life situation without it for sure.
All right, we still have a few extra minutes for Mark Miller. We gave him a little bit extra time due to his representation for Autumn Open and Paradise Lanes. So we'll circle the wagons here, and we'll give the next round. Go ahead, Daryl, and bring up your next question.
Yeah, Mark, can you just tell us when would you have oiled last? Is that something that you would have done today in preparation from the lanes? What sort of lane preparation can you do? On an ongoing night in the morning, I'm sure you're wiping them and stuff. But from an oiling perspective, is there something that you do normally for the tournaments here?
No, for sure. We go up every odd lane, so 1, 3, 5, and we just grease it from the foul line to the pin decks, and then we wipe the even lanes 2, 4, and 6 completely dry. And no, that's just a joke for the audience. No, we'll lay down oil Thursday for sure.
Okay.
I don't even like using the word oil. Conditioner, it's bowling conditioner. It's used to protect the lane.
Sure.
That's why we put it down to reduce that burn friction, so you don't get those nice white lines on your bowling ball. We're going to lay just enough to ensure that the lane is protected and that your ball is shiny as can be. But no, we will lay down Thursday. We laid down Sunday. We will lay down Thursday. We'll reassess Saturday morning and Sunday morning if it needs a light touch up. We do everything by hand at Paradise. Unfortunately, with the above ball returns, we don't have a machine that can clean and reapply. But we have. I don't want to. I have an idea of what scores well, and I just want to see good scoring, and I'm going to do my best to ensure that happens with laying down the bowling conditioner on the lanes.
Right. So quick follow-up to that. Any really big scores that you've seen at league or anything in the last couple of weeks leading up to this that might get some people pretty excited about throwing some strikes?
League play, we've had a couple of 370s, 380s. We ran a spring tournament at the end of August, and we had I can't quote who bowled what, but there was a 435, a 405, a 390, a 385, and a 380 all on a Sunday evening when we brought some competitive Calgary 5-pin bowlers together in August. So the scoring's there. I'm fortunate enough to be averaging 270. So if I can average 270, why can't you?
Okay, so now putting you on the spot, that being said, what do you think the cut's going to be?
Beauty, yeah.
It's a great question. As a bowler, I'm going to tell myself to bowl 2150. 2150 is 100% safe. What the cut's going to be, we had 200 entries last year. Lanes are playing similar, and it was just over 2100. I could see that being very similar again, 2110, 2115. It can be a grind, right? So yeah, I'll go with 2112.
Mark it down.
Mark it.
So thinking about your own performance now, forgetting about organizing for a moment and just you bowler, what's your number one key point of success and the one thing that you might do that you're most afraid is going to mess you up as you walk into this tournament?
The one thing I can do that's going to mess me, something that I'm trying to avoid doing.
Yeah.
Focusing on the result. You gotta live in the moment. You gotta trust the process. You gotta make adjustments on the fly. You gotta not worry about your individual scores each game. Just be in the moment, right? Don't worry about that final number. Just focus on the process, and the results will show themselves if you apply that properly.
So if you walk out of a shift feeling like that was the best I could possibly have done, what will you have done right to make that happen? Other than staying in the moment?
Obviously giving it 100%, not throwing away any bowling balls, trying every shot, enjoying the moment. Obviously there's stats out there, right? You don't want to miss X amount of spares or miss the middle X amount of times on the first ball. But there is a fine line between playing tight and playing loose, and you got to find that happy middle ground, and just trust yourself. If you trust yourself, it'll go a really long way.
I guess being the one probably knowing the lanes the most, the conditioning, having to make an adjustment. What are you expecting if needed?
Great question. Like I mentioned to Daryl earlier with the conditioner, it's going to be wet. It's going to be wet to start. So you gotta play the lanes that are fast. I know my adjustments for fast lanes. Everybody's a little different. As the tournament goes on, if I'm fortunate enough to be playing Sunday, I know the lane conditions will be different, and I will do my best to make the adjustments necessary to ensure that my scores are where they should be, in my mind at least.
Thank you.
Mark, now obviously yourself is important. You want to play well and you have a good result, but is there anybody else that you'd like to be rooting for as well? You know, some close guys maybe on your 5-pin pro team league, or some hometown YBC players out of Paradise, or, you know, obviously your wife, Melinda, but anybody else that you sort of in a close-knit group that you'd be supporting and looking for them to play well this weekend? Oh
man, if I went through everybody, I list off 90% of the bowlers. Sorry to the other 10%, but if you treat me good, I treat you good. You got to really piss me off for me to hold a grudge against you. But there's a few, specifically from Paradise, as for YBC bowlers, not especially, but I know there's a couple young kids coming out, and you always want to see them play well. And there's a couple veterans such as yourself who it's just you want to see everybody play well. Unfortunately, only 40 people can make the cut. But as for specifics, honestly, if Melinda could win it instead of me, have at her. She's a phenomenal bowler. She deserves every bit of it, and so does Daryl and Jen and Carrie and everybody else, right? So yeah, it's hard, but I'm being Mr. Nice Guy. It's such a political answer, but
no, I just didn't know if there's somebody that's close to the Paradise family that, you know, side that they'll be rooting for a little bit too, right? And that's what the question was there for.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Just the regulars that you've seen in past years. We don't have anybody kind of coming up into the ranks yet, but we do have a couple kids we have our eye on. But no, yeah, good questions.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mark Miller. You answered all our media's questions fairly well, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck for this weekend as the host and also as a player.
Thanks, guys. Wish everybody else the best of luck as well, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
All right. We're going to bring our next guest roughly in a minute at 6:50 mark. And Mark, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
We have our 2020 WCB Tour Championship runner-up, also our 2018 WCB Tour champion, and 2020 Regina Classic champion, was it, Tyler?
Yeah, that's right.
Tyler Tickett, our media, unfortunately have half the time they did with Mark Miller, so we'll get their questions rocking and rolling here. Jeff Young, you're first.
All right. So my question is, going from a youth bowling prodigy and then going into cash tournaments, adult bowling. What were the biggest adjustments in terms of competition and atmosphere that you had to adjust for, and what maybe surprised you? Maybe that was maybe a little bit easier, or I guess easier to handle than you thought it would be.
Well, thank you. First of all, I wouldn't consider myself a prodigy, but it's very nice to say. I think the biggest change was transitioning from being obviously like being at the top and performing well and going to a place where you're essentially middle of the pack again. And I struggled with having this mentality that there was something I needed to prove every time I was out in the lane. And so after a couple tournaments, my mentality was always that I had nothing to prove and I had nothing to lose. Being there was a victory in itself, and whatever happened over the weekend was good enough. In terms of maybe the surprising factors was the camaraderie. I mean, I've had great experiences in youth, between Youth Challenge and YBC Nationals, of teammates being incredible, but Alberta is an incredibly competitive province, and sometimes when your competitors are not cheering for you. But in the adults events, I've never felt like I've had someone cheering against me. No matter what the situation is, someone's always there on your side.
Hi, Tyler. What would you say is a big advantage that you have, that you think you have over the rest of the field walking into this tournament? Just overall, something that about you, something about your experience, something about being younger, something about getting comfortable quickly. What do you think is one thing that really gives you a significant advantage over the other people in this event?
I think it's my age combined with my experience. I mean, a lot of people who may not be as familiar with me if they're from out east or are new to bowling, especially competitive bowling, see that I'm younger and expect me to not understand the events as well. But I've been playing cash tournaments since I was 14, which is 7 years of experience at this point. So I definitely know how to handle myself, and I know that it can be a grind, especially Autumn Open with this tournament. I know that if I'm fortunate enough to make it to Sunday finals, 23 games in one day is a very long day. Like as cheesy as it sounds, I've been in the gym, I've worked on muscles and endurance and strength. So hopefully I have the physical capacity to make it to the end of the weekend, and maybe being 21 will help me over some of the senior competitors out there.
And what about a disadvantage?
A disadvantage? Probably my last few experiences at Paradise Lane have been less than ideal. So I think getting over that mental block of trying to average more than 210 this time will be a bit of a challenge. But I mean, new tournament, new lanes, new year. So it'll be good.
My question kind of relates back to what you mentioned about getting out, going to a gym. It's kind of like, what drives you to get out? What drives you to go out to a lane, to practice, to go out to a tournament, to compete? We know as competitive bowlers, as coaches, it's not easy, right? It takes a lot of effort, a lot of motivation. So just what drives that motivation?
Yeah, I think, with the pandemic, I've been fortunate enough to kind of have a forced time off from bowling. So about a year and a half of no competitions, I'm ready to feel that adrenaline rush again. I love the atmosphere, the energy. Going back and watching old bowling videos, it makes me so excited to come down this weekend and see everyone, and be a part of such a great event that the staff at Paradise are running. Motivation is just pure enjoyment of the sport. I love being there. I love the people, the energy. All those games that come down to the last frame. I want to be a part of that, and I want to make sure that I'm able to be on the successful end of those things. So getting out to the gym, I mean, my degree in university is all about exercise science. So I know the benefits mentally, I know the benefits physically about it. So that's a lot of factual information that drives me, knowing that that's going to make me better. And then just the people, honestly, like I can't say enough about our bowling community and how great everyone is. So I'm excited to see people. That's really what's getting me excited about this weekend.
Thank you.
Tyler, do you feel any pressure to continue to perform at the highest of the game? I mean, obviously, recently you were Regina champion there last year in February, and then you were runner-up at the tour finals. You've sort of gotten to the highest level of the game. Is there a certain level of pressure that I have to stay there and I have to keep up there, or do you sort of just take it one tournament at a time and whatever happens happens? But so how do you deal with that pressure?
I think I'm fortunate enough, again, with having a couple years experience under my belt still, I've learned to not feel that pressure to be at the top all the time. I know one of my biggest strengths is my consistency. I may not be that person that's going to come out and start with a 420 or finish with a 420, but I'll consistently throw those 270s, those 260s to get me across the line. And same with tournaments, like I struggled last year at Autumn Open and it didn't go any way that I wanted it to go, but I knew I had 3 more tournaments coming up. Unfortunately, we only ended up doing 2 of them. But I knew that I'm a consistent performer. So even one tournament not necessarily being at the top of the list is not the biggest concern for me. I just want to make sure that I gave it my best effort and that I did everything I could that weekend. I made the adjustments I needed to. So not super pressured, but obviously I want to perform as best as I can and be at the top if I can.
So to that, you've talked about last year not playing so well at Paradise. Are you already thinking about an adjustment on the approach or your ball technique that you need to make in order to have success? Or how are you going in mentally already knowing that the last year didn't necessarily go so well?
I've got one in mind, maybe a little to the left, playing the angle a little bit more, but I'm going to start with what I do best and trust my technique and see from there.
Tyler, so I know that when people become good at something young, very good at something young, there's a lot of stuff that they learn. People would say they learned it naturally when it's just really they had a ton of practice at it when they were really young and they didn't even necessarily know they were mastering something at 12, 14, 16. Is there something you can point to that you think you started doing really well very young that meant that wasn't something you had to learn in your 20s moving into the adult ranks?
Yeah, I would say practice with intention. I had a great support network with my family, with my mom and my sister, and having a brother who was also incredibly competitive. Practices were with a purpose. We were there to work on spares. We were there to work on picking up wood. We were there to work on mental skills. And I think that's something that maybe is missing in YBC right now. A lot of people just say, oh, let's get out and get some reps in, let's just throw the ball. But a lot of athletes seem to be missing those drills and those structured practices with a purpose. And so in doing that at a younger age, I definitely didn't need to learn how to put intention into my work later on. So it's been helpful because I know how to go in and work on things, specific items, specific parts of my game, instead of just thinking, okay, I'm going to go practice and see what happens. I can go in and practice and say, hey, can I have the lane on manual? I'm just going to work on 2 pins this weekend, something like that.
So just a final question for me. What are some future goals that you have, whether it be WCBT or just bowling in general, that you kind of have your eye on that you feel like will be a nice little feather in your cap, if you will?
Masters. I watched my brother play it, and it was just such a blast that I would love to go for Master Singles. And I'm hoping that the weekend after this starts it off well. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tyler. Thanks again for the media, and good luck this weekend, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back in 1 minute with our next guest. All right, we have our last Autumn Open champion from 2019, Mr. Brian Hurst. The shirt is hanging nicely in the corner there. I like it. So first up on the questions, Mr. JB.
Brian, welcome. Congratulations on your win. I was going to say a recent win, but I guess it doesn't feel very recent anymore.
No, it's been, 2 years now?
Yeah. So there's kind of the obvious, when you win, it's kind of obvious that you want to defend, you want to win again, you want to prove you belong, blah, blah, blah. Is there something about being a defending champion that sticks with you, that you're thinking about as you go into this tournament, that maybe isn't the kind of obvious thing that someone would expect?
As for being obvious, you know what? I don't really know. It's going in, I feel the pressure of being that last Autumn Open champion, being up on the wall in general. It's a huge honor. I don't even really know what to go in this weekend thinking. It's I felt pressure in itself just going into TPC. It was like winning the Autumn Open was kind of my breakthrough year, and now I have a lot of people watching me, right? So yeah, don't really know what more to say about something obvious going into the weekend, right?
So you say not knowing how to feel, how to think, what were you working at? When you were practicing with that intent of working on that mindset of taking that pressure off and just focusing on basics and what you do best?
Well, yeah, for practice, it was more of just making sure what I do consistently. I know that when I'm hitting my spots, I hit that strike zone. It's going to be the same thing over and over again. And hopefully the adjustments I need to make are minor and small. That's what I was doing going into it. And that's what I'm doing now. It's the nerves of not being in those situations a lot that still kind of get to me, because I'm not always in the finals. I'm not always going head to head against someone. I'm not always on camera. It's something that does kind of weigh on me a little bit.
All right.
Can you share specifically, Brian, here in the last couple of weeks leading up to it? Obviously, we've known the Autumn Open's coming, and you are going to be a defending champion. Specifically, though, have you gone and practiced on your own? League night. Have you tried to deal with those nerves and that pressure, and actually gone and played a whole bunch here recently?
Unfortunately, not actually. I have had a change in my personal and work life, so getting into a bowling alley has been much harder for me to do. I get out when I can. I try for at least once a week when I'm not working, but even that has become difficult in itself. So going in, I'm not going to lie, I feel a little bit behind the 8 ball, but I'm still going to give it my all.
Taking us back to when you did win, what do you feel were your keys to success in your victory, and what do you think you need to do to replicate that success?
Well, going through the finals, I knew that it's the bonus points that really help, right? So just getting that win in general is a huge advantage. I know that at any point, anyone can beat anyone else. And if I can just stay ahead of them just a little bit, it'll be the biggest thing in the world, right? I mean, you're not going to win all of them. I mean, some have, but it's not the easiest to do. I think I scraped away, 12, which is no easy feat. But yeah, it's the bonus points, it's staying calm, it's knowing who you're up against.
So bowling, unlike baseball, when you come up and you have success and then you think, oh, now I can't do the same thing I used to do before because the league's going to adjust to me. But in bowling, we don't really have to deal with that. It's more about just trying to do the same thing over and over again. Is there something that you think you did very well when you won this event last time that you're focusing on doing well again? Or is there something that you feel like you got away with a win in spite of something going wrong that you want to make sure you fix this time?
Going through it, it was, I feel all of it was kind of coming together. I feel like I was confident in what I was doing. I made very little shots that didn't work out. Like I wasn't pitching off to the side a lot. I was on the middle very consistently. I don't think I'd really change anything going into this weekend. I haven't really changed a whole lot over the last 8 years, I'd say. I would say that there was a lot of work that I did when I go into my slide, I drift off to the left. I am trying to straighten that out, and that's an ongoing process. It's a natural thing for me to drift. So I just kind of want to keep my eye on that.
At one point, you had mentioned that with life changes, you haven't had a chance to get out to the bowling alley as much. But the mental game is a huge aspect of competitive. So have you had the chance to find other ways to practice bowling, not in a bowling alley? So work on the mental, use some visualization techniques and all that fun stuff.
Not so much. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a whole lot to work with on that. It's my mental game has once again not changed a whole lot. Even when I was bowling in Ontario, I had a strong mental game for a long time. It did falter, I'd say probably 5 to 6 years ago, but I have brought it back. Like I actually feel my mental game is better now. I can't really pinpoint what it is that I've done, but it's obviously great to have a strong mental game. But as for the things I do, it's just kind of gone back to what I learned when I was 18.
Makes sense.
Hey, Brian, can you chat a bit about, your support network maybe at the lanes? As you won the tournament a couple of years ago, you probably found yourself have a few more friends. As you continue to get higher in the game, seems to be more people come around. Is there a group of people that you might look to lean on, other fellow bowlers that are part of your core group down there now in Calgary? If you're needing some help or some support down there, what kind of support network do you have down there for bowling wise?
Well, believe it or not, there's not too many people. There is my long-term girlfriend, Tara, who has been with me somehow for the last 13 years. So she knows my game in and out. She knows like exactly what I throw and things that I'm doing, whether I like start leaning into it a little bit too much, whether I start becoming less aggressive on my shot and my follow through starts to get soft. I've been working with Mark the last few years, so he's really come to learn my game, and he can kind of pinpoint this or that or give me an idea to try. But there's not really too many more people than that.
So as it's now 2 years since you were in the winner's circle at this event, memories have had a chance to fade a little bit. What stands out to you as something that flashes back in your mind from the experience of winning this tournament 2 years ago that stays with you?
What stays with me is after that last game, when you are absolutely exhausted, and like a lot of people were congratulating me on how I did and that I had won it and all that. And I just, like, not saying I didn't want to have a part of it, but I didn't want to believe it at that time until it was said. And like, it's just the euphoria that you get from it is overwhelming. Like I couldn't even believe it.
Like maybe it would have been better to have a party 3 days after you won instead of hours after you won.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Good luck this weekend, and thanks for joining us on this press conference.
Thanks for having me, and thank you, everyone.
We have our 2020 WCBT Player of the Year and 2018 Autumn Open Champion and the #1 ranked by 5-Pin Universe, Dexter Wiseman. Thanks for joining us. And Amanda, you got the lead.
Oh boy, I have to go first. Hello, Dexter. My
Hey.
question for you is, with your involvement, obviously in the bowling proprietor community as well as bowling universe, all that fun stuff. What does it mean to have these events come back, and what does it mean? Like, how's the anticipation coming up to the event?
Man, this is my lifeblood. You know, 99% of my friend base comes from bowling, comes from competitive bowling, comes from the proprietor side of things, comes from league bowlers coming through the door. It's literally how I've met people and what really keeps me going. So having these events come back is just a signal back to normality and kind of bringing me back to my own little sanity. It's huge. I'm so excited to see everybody. The bowling aside, that's the biggest thing, and honestly cannot wait for it.
For sure. Definitely feel you there. Who's next?
Daryl, you have yourself muted there, sir.
Sorry, bud. You told me to mute, and that was the first time that I put it on mute. So sorry, Dex. I started talking halfway. Question, really good question. So
You've never sounded better.
yeah. You're a pretty fast bowler. When you pick up the ball, you get on the approach and you go. There's not a whole lot of time that you take on the approach and get your thoughts in doing all that. What is it that you do before you get to the lanes that you can share with us that is all that mental prep and all that physical prep that you're doing that allows you just simply to get on the lane and to go?
Yeah, so I don't even know if it's so much just before my shot. It's more so everything that's happened right after my prior shot. A lot of it is quick analysis of the things going on in my game. So I'll tend to try to pick out one or two things to focus on. I have a couple of cues that I tend to stick with while I'm playing events, but I really rely heavily on quick analysis after my last shot, whether I threw it exactly the way I wanted to, and then I'll just continue with that cue for the rest of that game sort of thing. Or if I'm getting a little bit too quick with my feet, then I'll find ways to slow my feet down a little, or open or close my shoulders a little bit. It's really about that analysis. But most of my game relies heavily on, like I said, a couple of quick cues. That's just pushing the ball in the right direction, getting my hand underneath the ball, and keeping my shoulders square. And as long as I do those things kind of jump into place. But I'm pretty good at figuring out what those things are pretty quickly.
Hey Dex, Jeff Young here. Huge fan of your brothers.
That makes one.
With the past success that you've had in the previous years, what's it going to take for you to replicate that success? Coming into this season, and what will you deem a success this upcoming year for yourself personally?
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of change for me to try to replicate my success. The last number of years, my confidence has definitely gotten way better. I've become far more consistent. I've become a lot more mentally stable isn't the word I'm looking for. But my mental game has gotten significantly better. Nothing really rattles me too much. So I think I'm in a really good place to continue with this level of success for the next couple of years. I've really learned over time that I love bowling. I love being around the people. But my results as a bowler does not define me as a person. And once that sort of clued in, 3-4 years ago, it took a lot of pressure off of me as a bowler to succeed, because I didn't have to have that as my reputation. So once that kind of dissipated, my mental game got way stronger. And as for what I would deem successful for this year. The last 3 seasons for the WCBT, I've been in the top 4 for qualifying for WCBT finals, the tour finals. That is ultimately my goal. The goal is always to make the tour finals, but for me personally, I am definitely shooting for that first round bye. So that's kind of my goal I'm shooting for.
So we see you. You're loose. You're fast. You're relaxed. You're talking to people because you say you always want to keep your mind off bowling when you're not actually standing there with a ball in your hand. That helps you be relaxed. You just told us a little bit about what you've done over the, how your mental game has strengthened over the last 3-4 years. How did that happen? So it's easy to talk about sort of, some bad things in my mental game dissipated, but you must have done something to make that happen. What do you think you did, thought, said, whatever, that helped you make that transition to being, in your best mental shape of your career?
This is going to sound really dumb and kind of off bowling completely, but the year I won the Autumn Open, I was in a really tough mental space personally. A lot of things in my personal life crashed and burned around me right as that time period of the Autumn Open was playing. And I remember that morning of the Autumn Open, how I didn't want to be there. I had no interest in being there. I didn't want to throw a ball. At that point, I was pretty much done with bowling completely. And I kind of stopped caring about my results. And in that moment, I just started throwing balls and just talked with people and just threw. And it kind of just stuck. It stayed with me. It's not that I don't care about my results, or it's not that I don't care about bowling as a whole. But with it, it allowed it kind of gave me a freedom to get away from those results, because there were bigger things than bowling in my life. So as dumb as it sounds, it was kind of like my own personal my emotional and mental low point of my life that kind of allowed to just free me from this. So it wasn't anything I specifically went out of the way to get better at, but it just sort of happened.
For what it's worth, that doesn't sound dumb at all. Most people snap to attention at the crisis point, and that sounds like that's what happened to you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dexter, do you feel pressure to live up to the ranking that you are number 1 in WCBT? Are you driven to be the absolute best in Canada? There's often the conversation about who's the best in Canada, and Dexter's definitely right up in the conversation. Is that something that drives you, and does it add pressure in order to achieve that level of success?
No pressure, all motivation, 100%. There are definitely people that I consider the best in the game. Some of those people are sitting in the back room right now, waiting for their chance to have conversations today. But I don't feel pressure to be number 1, but I am motivated to keep that ranking and to prove people wrong that may not think that I am. Do I believe that I'm number 1? I don't know, but I definitely have had a really good run over the last 4 or 5 years. It's funny. I've been in this game for, 25 years now, and I don't think there will ever be a point where I don't feel like I have something to prove. And this is just sort of something that, furthers that along. And, it is absolutely a driving factor for me for motivation, for sure.
You mentioned that there's others that motivate you, like, for example, some of the people that are coming up in the press conference, but there's also people that see you as someone that motivates them. And as someone sitting here saying that you're now at your strongest point mentally, what would your biggest advice be for those that look up to you, that want to get to that point and, like, be mentally strong?
Allow yourself to be free. As dumb as that sounds. Bowling is great. Being around the people is better. But allow yourself to make mistakes. Don't dwell on the mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen to everybody. Mistakes are going to happen to everybody at the highest level of the game. And that's just the nature of our game. You watch the PGA. You watch Tiger Woods hit one into the water. It happens to people. It's just the nature of the sport. You cannot be perfect on every single shot. So allow yourself mistakes. Do not beat yourself up for it. Focus on the next shot and just keep going. Getting too emotionally high, getting too emotionally low is really difficult in the singles aspects of things. These are grinding tournaments, so keeping at a good, even keel mental state the entire time will allow you to not expend energy on unnecessary things throughout a 23 game Sunday. All that energy is very important. So my biggest advice is just, do not beat yourself up for mistakes. Learn from them, move on to your next shot, and go from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you very
Good
much,
answer.
Dexter, for joining the press conference, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
We'll jump right into our next guest right away here. We're falling a little bit behind schedule, so. All right, we have Miss Tracy Smith. She's been a proud WCBT membership sponsor for the last few seasons and is a multiple national champion playing out of Calgary, one of the strongest ladies on tour. And we're going to start with Daryl. You got the floor.
Perfect. I'm glad I get to start with Tracy. Tracy, I love you. You're one of my favorites. I'm so glad that you're on the show and you're part of bowling, and we've had such a good relationship over the years. So, question for you is regarding women in the sport of bowling. You're fantastic. You still have a career left in it, but what does it mean for you to be able to pass the torch and to show that women belong in the sport, they can compete, and further to add in a donation of a membership for a female coming up and playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've come a long way. Well, first of all, Daryl, I love you too. We do have a long history together. I think I've come a long way in truly understanding like female empowerment and kind of what that potentially means to the sport of 5-pin bowling. I think I've come from like a place of being very selfish in terms of like trying to have like my own individual achievements in the beginning of my bowling career. It didn't really take me too long to realize that as I strived to achieve in my own way, whatever that meant for me, success, how I could give back to others, particularly women. But I think I've also achieved that along the way to both men and women. So.
To kind of piggyback, I guess, on Daryl's question, if you could, grab a young female bowler by the shoulders and look them in the eye and give them advice or speak to them about maybe taking that first step to join a competitive tournament or joining Masters or bowling the Open, what would you say to them?
I mean, it's pretty simple, right? Go for it. But I would say I've seen a lot of women come out of YBC, or even women a little bit more tenured in their career who are striving yesterday. It can be really intimidating, I think. And I think that's the difficult part. I actually do think that's perhaps why we lose some women in the sport. But what I would say is like, if there's someone in the game that you really admire, I would ask or encourage you to kind of like lean in, ask questions, be comfortable. Maybe it's just around drinks. Maybe it's not in the environment of the competition. But I think there are a lot of women out there, the majority of women who want to give back, who want to have, some mentorship, give back best practices, and empower sort of the next.
Go ahead, JB.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of a lag in the internet connection, so I just need to, yeah. So I'm a youth bowling coach. I have been now for 5 or 6 years. So I get to see young bowlers, mostly, age like 12 to 18. And at the risk of asking kind of the stupid question, is there something that you suspect that we're not doing well enough that we ought to do that will help, teenage girls graduate from YBC into the competitive ranks and feel comfortable and not feel intimidated and feel as though they have every bit a place in that competitive landscape as anybody else does?
I've been around a long, what I will say is that I am the only player that I'm aware of, female player, that came out of the YBC who is still playing. I think there is a small percentage in the last few decades compete at a higher. It's rare. If I look at the YBC, what's happening right now, there's, it continues to be a small percentage. I think it comes from having some experience in some of these events, whether it's Masters, Open, this WCBT, events across the country that are happening in Newfoundland and Ontario, where women can kind of experience like the flavor, right? The friendship, competing at a high level, having a taste of it. And once you have a taste of it, it's really hard not to continue. It's just challenging, I think. I think also as, women begin getting married, having families, going through university, we do see even women coming out of YBC who go through something as simple as university, and they take, a couple of gap years and then come back to the sport just because they're so invested in their education. And then they come back, better than ever.
Hi, Tracy. As the only girl who's asking questions, as well as one of the only girls answering questions, my question to you comes from a female perspective of what do you hate hearing the most as a female in our sport, right? We get everything from girls don't throw it hard enough, girls just don't score high enough, right? Like we get everything, and we're always like, what is that thing that hates you the most that you feel like the opposite of empowers women, kind of discourages women, right? Because if they're always being told that what's the point, right?
Yeah, no, hi, Amanda. It's actually really good to have you on, and your questions are amazing. Listen, I think from my perspective, I can't speak from anybody else's perspective, but I think that when I heard some of those things in my early years, like honestly wasn't the best bowler coming out of YBC. In fact, I probably wasn't the best youngest bowler, like in my 20s, trying to compete. But it was all of those learnings and my, I guess, desire to be amongst the best that pushed me forward. And, over time, I guess you just don't even hear those things because it's just like, it's out of sight. It's out of sight. I'm not going to think about those things. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be positive. And those things didn't actually bring me down, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah.
One last question here, Tracy, is looking ahead to the Autumn Open this coming weekend. Lots of females playing, obviously including yourself. What would be a success marker for females to make the cut top 40? Yourself and how many others would be a great to say at the end of the day, hey, we got 20 women into the top. Maybe not, but what do you think would be a great target for women to achieve for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think my last count was maybe 16 women. And if somebody knows the exact number, I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, we've been striving the last couple of years to encourage women to come out to the game and participate. we honestly are lucky if we have one or two women. I think a couple of years ago there was 3 women who competed in the finals, and I would encourage. That's a small percentage, but I do believe every single woman that has entered into the event for like this weekend, like there's many that can go to the top qualifying. So I'm going to say all of them. I want all of them. And if that happens, that'd be amazing. But listen, if we could get 20% in the top, that'd be amazing.
Well, thank you very much, Tracy, for joining us on the press conference. Obviously, one of the best ladies on tour, one of the best bowlers on tour. So we look forward to seeing you start. Are you playing tomorrow by any chance? I didn't get a chance to look at the doubles.
I'm not playing tomorrow. I think there is only 3 women playing in the doubles, which is amazing. I wish you all tons of luck in the doubles. And just my last shout out to like the 16, 17 women that I saw for qualifying. Like just go give it your all.
Perfect. Well, Tracy, have a great weekend, and we'll see you down there.
Thanks, everyone. Talk soon.
All right, we're going to jump right into our next guest, our 2019 Club Tour champion and our 2017 Regina Classic champion. His list of accolades precedes him, Mr. Mitch Davies. And Jeff Young has the floor.
Hi, Mitch. Jeff Young here, big fan. And my question for you is, having come from Ontario and competing in these tournaments all the time, what advice would you give someone that might be deemed as an Easterner, Ontario, and then to the east? Some advice or tips for planning that travel, kind of the maybe the pitfalls or little tricks that you might have to make sure that, one, it's affordable to travel and compete in the tournament, and 2, to make it kind of as smooth as possible.
Sorry, Mitch, it seems like your mic is disconnected. We're not too sure. It was working before. Let's see if I can fix it here for you. Nope, nothing yet. It wouldn't be a press conference without a mistake. No, we can't hear you. Pull out the mic out of the device.
Let's all quick learn how to read lips.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now. You're good now.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right, Jeff, to answer your question, sorry, I know the WCBT did a write-up actually once, I think Mark Johnstone, how to live on tour, how to play on tour, how to make the most of your tour experience, how to be the cheapest on tours, whatever the case may be. One tidbit that I can give you guys, as an Easterner that's come over, and I've come up from the age of 20 as well. So it's not like I just started in the last couple of years when I had money or I had a better job or whatever the case may be. The biggest key, if you're a good player or a mediocre player, or whatever the case may be, you have to spend the money. You have to go in every shift, every doubles, everything you can do, and just play the odds, because eventually you're going to score. Eventually you're going to get money back, and eventually you're going to break even on weekends. Just keep putting the money out there, and it'll eventually come back. It's just the way it goes. Like I said, all the other stuff as far as hotels, hopefully everybody's accommodating. You can find someone to probably stay at someone's house, even if you don't even know them. To be honest, if you just throw your name out there and be like, "Hey, can I stay here?" Whatever the case may be. But yeah, I go to all the tournaments except for obviously the Autumn. This is my first time, and but if you want to come, just message me and we'll figure something out.
So Mitch, JB, nice to see you. And I'm curious. So, you have the reputation of being, let's say, supremely confident. And I mean that in the best possible way. And I'm curious, it's a similar question to what I asked Tyler. When you learn stuff young, you don't even know you're learning it you just get good at it, and then suddenly you're 25 and you don't even realize you had to work hard at it. What is there that you do in your game now that you still have to work hard at?
Yeah, I think more now in my game where I have to, when it comes up to these big tournaments, I don't practice. I don't do that anymore. I used to play upwards of 60, 70, 80, 100 games a week. And I felt like that actually hurt me more than anything. Now what I do is I have a routine. I was telling Carrie about this last night. When I go the week of a tournament, I'll go to Cairo. I'll go take a massage. I'll stretch for the last 2 weeks. I'll go in the hot tub every day for probably the last 10 days. And then on that week, I'll go throw 8 games just to get my fingers ready to go into the game and take it serious as well, right? I'll go in there. I'll play the 8 games. I'm not practice pinning. I'm not doing any of that stuff mostly. I've done that for years and years and years. It just comes back naturally, but it's all about mental preparation. As far as the confidence goes, I know a lot of people consider me that way. They look at me like I'm really arrogant and cocky. I don't really believe that I try to be like that. I might come across that way. It's not intentional by any means necessary. I do have a confidence inside of me. There's no two ways about it. And the way it's perceived is maybe cocky or arrogant, but I really don't mean to come across that way. And a lot of people that know me now that I've been coming to this tour for 10 years, they know me that I'm not exactly like that. Sure, we're all going to believe that we're the best because you wouldn't be at the top of your game if you didn't think you were going to be close to the best. So, to answer your question the best way.
Yeah, believe me, I wasn't using that as code for arrogant. When I said supremely confident in a good way, I meant both of those things.
No, absolutely, JB. I appreciate
it. So getting to that point of being that confident, and you've also mentioned that you've been doing the tour since 20. Firsthand that it wasn't always that way. You haven't always been this confident. You haven't always been this good. So what challenges did you come across in life or in bowling that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think Brian brought up a pretty good one Dex brought up a pretty good one where he said he had things happen in his life too. When I was just a teenager, right? Like obviously, everything's the end of the world. You have a breakup or something like that. It's the end of the world. And to me, that was like another way to relish in bowling. And I was good when I was 15, 16, 17. I was 250. I was okay. But I knew having to be better was a big goal of mine after I had nothing left in life but of what I felt like when you're 16, 17, 18, whatever, to go bowl all the time. And that's how I got better, and that's how I got more confident. And by the age of 19, I was scoring to the degree of those higher level caliber players. I just couldn't put it together in playdowns. For the longest time, I mean, like probably 4 years until I was like 23, 24. I couldn't put it together in playdowns at all. I'd go bang, bang, or I'd win one match, or I'd be out first round I remember my first cash tournament, my first real one was in Walkley. I qualified second and I played Helen Godmare, and I thought, and I was shaking. Like I couldn't handle it. So that was my biggest task, was getting over how to play in playdowns. And it's all about just slowing down the game and not rushing these things. Go out there, take your time, be methodical. Most importantly, be methodical. Do everything the same way, and eventually things will fall into place.
You had mentioned like when you were younger, so 16, 18, 19, however it was, that you would go out and do reps, but now there's a routine instead. Was there a point, was it average, was it age, where you decided the mental side was more important to you to practice than it was getting out in the lanes and throwing the reps in the games?
Yeah, I think it was right around I was about 26. I took a summer off for the first time. I never would take a summer off ever. I'd play all summer. I'd play ball too, and I'd do a whole bunch of things, but I'd still play probably every week, probably like 20, 30 games a week. And I was around 25 or 26, and I realized I came back super fresh for the season. And I think we played a 20 gamer at Jeffy's place, and I won that 20 gamer. I couldn't believe how sharp I was with only having like 40. I think I played at the end of August, because normally, I was telling Carrie last night, I would normally play 30 games in August. From the second last week to the last week, I play probably 15 games each week, get into the season and have those reps in, because you still need to have like some kind of refresher. But I found that my brain was just so fresh at that point, and that's why I started doing that. I started incorporating that into my actual routines when I go to like big tournaments.
Thank you.
Hey, Mitch, last question here. Do you feel the weight on your shoulders to represent from Ontario? Obviously, this being the WCBT, the Western Canadian Bowling Tour, we often see all the top bowlers from the West, the Adams, the Carries, the Matts, the Adams, the Tyler's, Brad's, and then obviously you're coming out from the East. Not a lot of Easterners are coming, but some are having success. But you are likely the bowler that's having the most success from the East and representing, Ontario bowlers, that region down there. Do you feel the weight on your shoulders, and it's something that you take, you don't take lightly? That's something that you are a figurehead, a face of Ontario bowling coming out west.
No, I've never actually thought about it that way, Daryl. But I've never had that pressure per se to represent somewhere, except for when I'm actually, the most pressure I ever feel usually is when I'm playing the Open and representing Hamilton. I represent my hometown, all my friends, all my peers. That's where I feel pressure sometimes when I have the name on the back. But at the end of the day, we're playing a singles tournament here. I'm not playing for Ontario. I'm playing for me, and that's the best way to describe it. Nobody else matters to me when I play. No one. I don't think about anybody else. I don't think about girlfriends. I don't think about family. I don't think about anything. It's just me, and that's the way I've always liked it. And so I no pressure at all to represent Ontario.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much, Mitch. Have a great flight. You're flying out tomorrow out to Calgary to join us at the 48th Annual Autumn Open, and best of luck this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll bring on our next participant right away. All right, we have Miss Jen Baker, our 2020 WCBT Tour female points leader. She's won the Regina Classic. She's won lots of tournaments. We're thankful that she's taken the time out of her league to join us, and go right ahead.
So, Jen, hi, it's JB. As someone who has actually bowled in the East for real, it's nice to see you taking part of this press conference. Thanks very much for taking the time out. Simple question. What do you think is the key for you to win this event?
To probably just mostly stay consistent. I've struggled with that a lot, but it's also to stay positive, because I've also struggled with that. But that's probably the main thing, is just don't get so down on myself too quickly, and just dig down deep and come back when if need be. That's probably the main thing. Don't get so down on myself too quickly, and just dig down.
All right, Amanda?
Oh, sorry. I'm
No
muted.
worries.
Hi, Jen. My question for you, similar kind of what I was talking with Tracy about, was as a female on the tour, do you feel like people talk down to females, as in like they can't score as high as men? Bowling alley noises. I love them. Sorry. Like those kind of things.
That's a tough one, really. For some, yes, and for some, no. Like, I've been on both sides of things where I've got the, oh, well, you're lucky to win this one, or, oh, well, you bowled fantastic, so you did kick my ass. Like, that's a tough one to answer, I'm not going to lie.
For sure, yeah. I guess my point is just to make it aware to people of those comments. Like, obviously, even you at top of your game are still getting those kind of comments that because you're a girl, you can't score as high, you can't throw as far, those kind of things.
Oh, I can't throw as fast as a guy, but jokes
right?
on them. I literally get called, I throw like a dude. So.
Yeah.
And they're all laughing at me now.
Yeah. I don't even know if I had a question. I'm just enjoying the bowling noises.
No.
Someone else can.
Nice. Hey Jen, DB here from Edmonton, your hometown in Edmonton, and I think we all from Edmonton. Remember, you're from Edmonton. When are you coming back to Edmonton? No, I'm kidding. That's you don't have to answer that.
No.
But we miss you here in Edmonton.
Friends, but no.
We miss you here in Edmonton. I know that you bowled in Newfoundland too for a couple of years. I'm sure they miss you there. I'm sure anybody across the country would be happy to have Jennifer Baker as part of their contingent. So just had to throw that out there. But I guess just leading into the Autumn Open, leading into the Autumn Open coming up here. How's the game? You've been practicing lots, obviously bowling out of Stettler. We've got a pro team league out of there that you're playing on. You've been practicing lots. You're getting yourself ready. How's the game these days?
Okay, well, I won't deny we did not practice a whole lot when he reopened and could bowl because it was way too hot in here. So really, we just started league last week, or really, I guess the week before. But so really, and then there was 2 weeks ago we came in and actually threw an 8-game set to even just try to be prepared for Calgary because we haven't thrown 8 games in one set in a year and a half. So other than that, I won't deny we haven't done a whole lot of bowling, but I am feeling pretty confident. I did have a good week last week, so there's that. Sorry, my eyes watering.
I thought you were maybe crying because of all my love for you about Edmonton. That's saying when you're coming back to Edmonton.
She misses you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, actually no. I feel confident enough. Yes. Did we come bowl as much as I wanted to? Probably not. But it's the first event of the year, so.
Hey Jen, Jeff Young here. Just with having a already a very successful career and looking to the season and years ahead, what are your future goals, and what do you feel is your best path to success in those years in the future?
Future goals. That's a good question. I mean, I would love to win another. This is embarrassing. Win another tour event for sure, preferably the Autumn Open or TPC, as those two are the ones that I haven't won yet. So obviously with that comes practice and determination. Other than that, I would absolutely love to go to both Masters and the Open again as a single or on the team, because that's just such a fun atmosphere there, whatever, and you get to see everyone. So really probably my biggest goals would be towards the tour, but I don't know, I'm the worst at answering these things.
So Jen, I'm glad that I've had a chance to bowl with you a bit on the Newfoundland Bowling Tour or at the Atlantics, but I haven't had a chance to make it out to a WCBT event yet. So knowing that I've had the experience of having bowled in St. John's, knowing what that's like, what would you say to me as sort of something about coming out to the WCBT that stands out as making that experience different than what we've had together down east?
Probably the variety of players, obviously, from it not being on the island where it's not the easiest to get to at the best of times, as you would know. So that is the nice part, that you get more of the, I guess, Western Canada wide, including Ontario and whatever, but that's probably the biggest thing I'd probably say. And then obviously the shifts entries, obviously there's more, just because there's more entries due to it being an easier accessible place to go to. So that's probably the biggest difference I find.
Jen, last question here. As a female, and Autumn Open, becomes a match play event. The finals are, 15 games. You've played in it before. Do you feel like sometimes there's an advantage to you mentally knowing that some men maybe don't like playing females? That's a very sexist question, I think, that Amanda alluded to. But do you sense that sometimes, that I know this man is nervous and doesn't want to lose to a female? I mean, it's as silly as it is, you can lose to anybody out there. But do you sometimes take that as an extra motivation to take them on and to whoop their ass? You know what I'm saying?
100%. I won't even deny it because, like, after, like, obviously bowling the tour for X amount of years and bowling in match play leagues, especially in Edmonton, you know there's people that do not like losing to you. So if you run into them, you take full advantage of it. And I won't even going to be nice about it, but it's true.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jen. You've been a great guest. I know you feel uncomfortable answering some of these questions, but you did a great job. No worries about that. And we wish you the best of luck this weekend and look forward to seeing you down there.
Thanks, guys. See most of you down there.
All right. And we'll bring our next guest in about a minute.
Yep.
All right, and here we go. We have Mr. Gene Zebarth, 12-time major cash tournament champion. We say major because they're WCBT equivalent of what we have going on nowadays. By far one of the best players, still on tour, playing really well. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're going to give the floor to Amanda.
Hello, Gino. How are you?
Good. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. Not trying to call you old, but it might come across as this. But with your experience on the tour, with your longevity, what do you find your strengths are, not only as an athlete but as a person as well, that like link together that help you with your success?
Well, the very first thing I would say is that probably tenacity. In all the sports that I ever played, I was never one of the better players. I was an average player, and I just worked very hard at getting where I want. Every tournament I won, there was always someone that was equally as good or better than I. I just happened to find the way to win, and that's one of my strengths, I think.
Gino, big fan here. Obviously, we've been buddies for 25 years. Remembering way back when I first met you and played in the trios at KG. So we've had a long history. You're at my wedding, anyways. Lots of good memories with you, Gino. One thing that's eluded you is the Autumn Open. I'd love nothing more for you to win the Grand Slam. Is that something that still continues to drive you, and you want that off the bucket list? That the Autumn Open is that one that you've got to win?
Without a doubt. I've been very fortunate. I've had a pretty good career. I've won a lot of tournaments and a lot of other things that have made me feel good. But definitely the Autumn Open is one that's on my bucket list. And as I'm getting older, it's looking as a reality. It may not happen, but that doesn't mean that I don't think I can still compete. And I'd certainly love to win it.
Hey, Gino, Jeff Young here. With your longevity, I can't remember your exact age. I'm guessing early 40s.
Thanks. I wish that was true.
I just kind of want to know, kind of speaking on longevity, you see a lot of really good bowlers that'll have a great span or career, as it may be, for 5 or 10 years, and then kind of fizzle out for whatever the case may be. What has been your secret or your, pathway to having such a great long career that maybe you could pass along to, some of the premier players today that are kind of looking to be more than, I guess, say a flash in the pan and looking for a career, that spans decades?
Well, I think two things stand out for me. Number one, the sport itself. And I truly believe this is a sport. to be able to excel at something that you love, when you excel at it, it just drives you to be better. And I think the biggest thing is for me is I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some very competitive players like Bruce Mortar, Lynn Howell, Brian Goodhope, Greg Giglick. Those are just guys from Alberta. I was also lucky enough to meet some very great people throughout, like Dougie Mosdell from BC, Doug Wood from Manitoba. You know, a guy that I really enjoyed out of Ontario was Donnie Betts. And through my years of meeting all these guys and seeing how good they were, I think they just helped me to try and elevate my game to where I wanted to be. When I first started out, I actually drove 3.5 hours one way to get to the bowling lanes to play against guys like Bruce and Lynn Howell and Brian Goodhope, because I always said, you know what, the only way I'm going to get better is if I play against the best. And I always said I wanted to be one of the top players, and that was one of my biggest drives.
Hi, Gino, JB Rainsberger. Really looking forward to finally having the chance to sit down with you at a future WCBT event and have a conversation. It's not an exaggeration to say that that's over 25 years in the making for me. Watching you at the 95 championships that was one of the 7 bowling videos you could see on YouTube. That was part of what kept me interested in the game when I took a step away. What I'm really interested in, though, is how your keys to success competing have changed now compared to, say, 20 years ago.
Well, I think 20 years ago when I was younger and first coming out in the game, well, I guess it'd be 40 years ago, I basically came out to try and sell myself and do whatever I had to do to try and win. And I think through the years, I've learned a respect for the game. I realized that the game isn't about me, but it's about the sport itself and the other people I'm competing against or the other people that are viewing. I think that every player has the ability to get to a certain level. And once you get to that level, I've always said this game is about hills, peaks, valleys, and plateaus. And each time you get to a specific plateau, you will digress and become a little bit, maybe your game may drop a bit. But when you realize what you did to get to there, you have the opportunity to climb to the next level. And once you do that, and that's how you keep on working at it. You know, when the question that was asked of me before about the longevity and what I would pass on to other people, I would say that every time you have a success, record or mentally think of what you did that made that a success. And then when you have a bad experience, record that as well, because what you do is you compare one to the other, and from there you can learn things about yourself, you learn things about the game, and you learn things about the other people around you. And it isn't always about you, it's about the whole atmosphere, the whole environment, everything that goes on. That's what'll make you a better player.
Hey, Gino, on this, the weekend coming up and lots of other tournaments, you're often found helping with the extracurriculars, the side bet stuff going on. Is that something that helps you stay focused, that you have an opportunity to go around and talk to people and, get them interested in the side action? Or, at times do you feel that that's sort of a hindrance, that, you're doing too much, and not focusing on your own bowling? It's just sort of, you're doing what you can to help for the event, but is there a point that it comes too much?
Not for me, no. Each person reacts differently to it. For me, I find it a joy to be around the other people, especially the younger people. I hope to think that when I was first playing well, and that I may not have been the mentor that some parents or some people would want their child or whatever to follow. And I like to think that through the years, as I've aged and grown a bit, that I have become that mentor. And to me, that feels good. I think this game is about people, without a doubt. And the younger people in the game, they're the ones that really interest me. Like Example, when I get to go to Calgary, there's a young gentleman in Calgary. I believe he's 17 now. He just fascinates me. I like the kid. He's a great kid. And he's going to be good. He's got all the talent in the world, not only in bowling but in other things as well. And it's neat for me to get around those kids, and they do that. They a lot of times I will use them to motivate me, because you watch them and you see what they do, and it just the game is a great game without a doubt. 5-pin bowling is, to me, the number one Canadian sport we have. We know that hockey is a big game with us and that, but 5-pin bowling is a sport that everybody can play, and it is participated by a volume of people that I only wished it would get recognized more.
Gene, last question. So one advantage that we have as we get older is acquiring wisdom. And I liked how you spoke about your growing interest in respecting the game. Lecture the young people a little bit for us. What is it? What does respecting the game mean to you? And there's something that maybe you don't see enough of out there that you'd like to see more of.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of really good athletes out there, good players, and they expect the game to just give it to them without having to work at it. I remember one year I was in Saskatoon, and I had the opportunity to be at Tom Patterson's bowling school. And I had a group of kids there from Ontario, BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, all in the room with myself. And we're sitting talking. And I strongly believe this, if you want to become a good athlete or a good person or that, you surround yourself with good athletes and good people as well. The last thing you want to be recognized is, hey, that guy's a great athlete, a great competitor, but as a person, he's got a terrible personality. I think when I say respecting the game, I mean that, when I was at fault, I would be lying if I didn't say that I did some things that I regretted when I was younger. But kicking ball returns, stuff like that. To a certain degree, hitting a ball return, if you slap it or that. I think if it's something that's done instantaneously, you aren't out there to be destructive. That's just letting loose on some stuff. But when you get to the point where you hit something or you do something that's destructive to the equipment or the environment around you, or even just the people around you, I think that's when you're wrong. And that's when you're not respecting the sport for what it is, or the people around you for who they are. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I'm regretful for some of the actions I had before. But I remember a lady one time coming back from Masters when I was playing a tournament. She came back and she looked at me and she said, Gino, are you still that badass little so-and-so that I knew when we were doing? And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I can't say I am and I can't say I'm not. Because if I say I'm not, you're going to turn and walk away. You're going to have to watch and get your opinion from my actions from now. And you know what? We all change. And we remember people of what they were in the past, but you have to give them the opportunity to change. And I was lucky enough, this sport has done that for me to a certain degree. And I hope that I can keep on being better.
Well, it couldn't be better said, Gino. You're one of the most respected players in the game, and we can't thank you enough for taking time out of the same league that Jen Baker is playing in and taking time and answering questions with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
I
you.
think what you guys are doing is absolutely obviously fantastic, and this sport has never been better without you people.
All right. Thanks, Gino, and we'll bring our next guest within a minute.
Thank you.
right. Here we go. Mr. Adam Weber, 4-time Autumn Open champion, double crown winner. His list of accolades are just as long as anybody's out there. Thank you for joining us, and we'll give the floor to Daryl.
Thanks, Gary. Adam, good to see you again. Long time no see here, buddy. First, I just want to know what it feels like to have godlike status when you walk into Paradise Lanes. You know, you're a four-time champion. You know, I sort of equate you walking into and bowling in this event similar to Wayne Gretzky on the Boys in the Bus. He made reference to, you know, why I have the hockey puck. Nobody else matters out there. I go score. It's my goal. That must feel like what you are when you walk into Paradise. You know, throwing strikes. You just know you're going to be in the finals. What does it feel like, you know, bowling at Paradise and the comfort level of feeling like that?
Yeah, I think you know, the word is comfort, right? I've had so much success there. I've had a chance to help bring this particular tournament over to Paradise. So I've had, you know, quite a rich history with the tournament there. And literally every time you walk into that place, it's just so welcoming. And the scoring's definitely there. It's always so well, you know, kept up. Volunteers are incredible. Staff is incredible. You just walk in with the sense that you're going to compete at, you know, the very highest level, as long as you stay within yourself.
Hey, Adam. Jeff Young here.
Hey, Jeff.
With you know, being one of the most recognizable faces in competitive five-pin bowling and having an already very long resume, can you speak a little bit on what still motivates you, and what pressures do you feel that you might have, whether it be from others or from yourself, to either add to that resume, maintain, you know, kind of that high level of competitiveness?
Yeah, there's always it's a very difficult kind of scenario, right? To try to keep yourself motivated and what's left on, you know, the so-called bucket list, or are you just trying to, you know, add titles to the mix, or are you trying to further the game? There's so many different factors, and I think they all kind of wrap themselves up in one. For myself, especially at the autumn. There's still a few, you know, bucket list items that I would love to try to achieve, or at least come close to. Bruce is still, you know, the main target there in his 7 titles, which is still absolutely incredible to myself and pretty much everybody else out there. But you know, I feel like I walk into almost any tournament with a, you know, a bit of a bullseye. You know, people are always going to try to elevate their game to their highest level, which quite honestly, I think it helps elevate my game to the highest level at all times as well. There's nothing like motivation when, you know, you get up and you're playing against, you know, the number one ranked player in 5-pin universe, and you just want, you know, to beat him. And you know, he's going to be at the highest level, and, you know, you have to be at that high level, or you're going to go to the wayside. And I still feel there's still a few years left in the tank here, and I just try to, you know, stay motivated within the day, within the tournament.
Hi, Adam. JB here. My
Hey, JB.
nutritionist services are still available if you become interested. So, not thinking about the big picture, but more thinking about specifically event to event. What has changed in your focus as you've moved away from being like the, you know, the bowler trying to prove themselves and then doing it, and now becoming sort of this person who maybe has nothing left to prove? What has changed in what you focus on, thinking purely about the bowling part and not the legacy part?
Quite frankly, not a whole lot. My motivation remains the same, going in from tournament to tournament. My pre-tournament routine has never really changed. the biggest growth has to be within the mind, going into any event. Pumping yourself up, knowing that you're going to excel at that event, goes a long way. The legacy, yeah, that's kind of in the background, but I think of that only after the tournament. Going into the tournament, the goals are always there. They're always very high achievable goals, which would be kind of the main thing that I would always tell people: high achievable goals, and just enough to motivate you to be your best at the individual tournaments. The legacy will speak for itself at the end of the day.
So earlier on, oh hi Amanda. Earlier
Hi, Amanda.
on, we mentioned someone mentioned the word comfort. Like this tournament's your comfort. We also talked about like favorite and playing sports lines. I'm sure you know favorite versus underdog. Like how do you avoid those feelings of being comfortable and being the favorite and allowing it to not take over and just like take away the motivation, the drive, right? Because you're relaxed. How do you avoid those kind of things happening?
For myself, and I don't know what others are kind of going through, but thankfully I've had that experience, and quite frankly, I've had that experience for quite some time now. So that in itself doesn't really play on my mind as I walk in. I know I'm always going to be one of the favorites that are out there. There's also 20, maybe 30 other players out there that can win on any given week. So again, there's more motivation that I think comes out of that than really worrying about that within the tournament.
Makes sense.
Hey Adam, can you talk a bit about your preparation for the event, leading up to this, even as a whole for this season? You're not typically a league bowler. I know there was a moment there you were even considering just taking a break from bowling, but super happy to have you back in league and playing. And so you can talk about a bit of that. Does that weigh into you being competitive on tour of having to play in a league? Is that part of the preparation to get back to that highest level possible?
Well, I think that over the last 2 years, just with the forced break that everybody's had to basically go through, maybe that was the break that I mentally needed as well. I've thrown it out there, numerous times about walking away from the game, and for the most part, though, those have been very realistic and very true, concepts in my mind. Playing league this year just kind of felt right. I don't typically enjoy playing league. Even after 4 weeks, I'm struggling with the concept of league. I like to more prepare, the 2 weeks before a major event. League for me is just reps, and this year, not really having any type of tournaments in the off season, not having the 20 gamer that TPC Sherwood, or not TPC but Sherwood Bowl typically does. I felt the reps were very much needed, as well as I really wanted to support Sherwood Bowl, and that's mainly what the preparation is this year. I've had a chance to get out a few other times, just to kind of work on timing and things of that nature, and feel really good, feel really confident mentally coming into the week.
So Adam, first, I'm really happy that one good thing that came out of this insanity we've all gone through is that you got the break that you needed, because we don't want you to walk away just yet. So as you've been thinking seriously about retiring, at least from the competitive side of the game, which seems to be the thing that happens? Is it more that you sort of talk yourself, or somebody talks you into going to a tournament, and then by the time you get there, you're in it and it feels good again? Or is it more like the general idea of going to the next tournament kind of feels okay, but then once you get into it, you're not sure if you want to do it anymore?
Well, once I'm at the event, I'm all in. Like there's full buy-in for sure. So, and that typically happens at least probably 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. Sorry, what was the first part of that question again?
Well, sort of, do you sort of get talked into going back to a tournament? Do you just sort of get sucked back into it and then you're good when you get there? Or is it more like, yeah, I think I want to go to a tournament, and then you get there and you realize, maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be?
Yeah, I've definitely had a few, people throughout my career that have kind of pulled me off the ledge, so to speak. Kind of helped me, realize that this game is more than just me. Big thing for myself was Michael Cousier, who's one of the most influential people in my game. Had me really think about what that would show my son. And my son, means absolutely everything to me, and especially in a competitive sports mindset that he has. What would walking away from the game at, arguably one of the top levels that has ever been seen, what does that show him? And once I was able to get that kind of through my mind, that was probably the most motivating factor to get back into it. And it keeps motivating me to this day.
Perfect. Thanks, Adam. You're one of the better spoken throughout this press conference. We can't thank you enough for being a part of it. And I don't think you need any luck for you at the Autumn Open, but
I'll take it.
Well, then, best of luck to you, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks to Paradise Lanes for hosting, and thank you to all the volunteers and sponsors and everything. This sport, this tour would not be the same without all those people involved. So thank you.
All right, and we'll bring our next guest.
Ooh, I'm in the show.
All right. Last but not least, our vice president from the WCB Tour and previous TPC champion, knows what winning is all about, Mr. Mark Johnstone. We're going to give Jeff Young the floor.
Hey, Johnny. First off, congratulations on the new arrival coming.
Yeah, thank you.
And my question kind of pertains to that. Now with this recent news, has your outlook changed at all in bowling, tournaments or just bowling otherwise? And how do you think your new addition is going to fuel your future in bowling?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was just thinking about that actually. I think if anything, it helps me, gives me a new resurgence, a new life, a new want to compete. A reason I want my son, I'm having a voice, but I want my son to see me in the now and see me competing and seeing what I can do, and somebody to look up to, not somebody who used to be there and whatnot. So I'm getting new life from it for sure.
Hi, Mark. It's JB. So in light of that, does this put any, I'm not sure what the quite right word is, but does this change your perspective regarding your involvement in the WCBT as an executive? I mean, does it, are we now going to have to worry about you stepping back from your executive work because you're going to want to make sure that your son can see you compete?
That's a tough question for sure. I'm not sure at this point. It has crossed my mind a little bit. It's taking up a lot of it does take up a lot of time and stuff, and I'm not sure how much time I will or will not have. I think I'm still needed. I don't think I would ever leave until I could feel comfortable with everything. Not that I don't trust everybody currently, but I feel like I'm an important piece to the puzzle right now, and I don't think I would ever fully leave. It would be a while down the road. I mean, we'll see how things go, but I don't have any plans in leaving anytime soon anyway.
So we don't have to rush to sit down to interview you to build the operations manual for whatever's in your head yet.
No, not quite yet. No. I can't even decipher that quite yet.
Hi, Mark. Amanda here.
Amanda.
My question's coming more from a proprietor side, from a bowling proprietor, just as a thank you for what WCBT has done for the community as a whole. My question comes related to that as to what more could the community do now that WCBT has done their part in helping bowling and bowling alleys? What can the community do from your perspective to help WCBT like improve that like help for the sport and bringing that awareness to the sport?
I think the community can do a number of things. Just even attending all the tournaments, let's get the numbers even higher than they are. That's a start too. The computer. I think one thing that we always talk about and have a challenge with is the social media and some of the outlets and stuff. A lot of people don't. We have like thousands and thousands of hits and likes, like people out there, but we don't get a lot of shares and a lot of our content being distributed.
For sure.
And it's, we feel like sometimes we post something and it's got 5 shares and it's all of us, and it's got 3 likes and it's three board members or things like that. So I think the community can help us with like sharing the content of what we do. When we do surveys, help fill out the surveys. When we post, comment and give us feedback, and constructive feedback, of course. The more people that like answer our calls and do our surveys and whatnot and share our content would, and also if people have ideas, we're open to ideas and that too. So yeah, we're an open book. So just that would help us a ton for sure.
Yeah, for sure. As someone like I do social media marketing as like my career, and it helps with our bowling, and I feel like a lot of people aren't aware of how easy it is and how much effect commenting and sharing can be. So I definitely feel like that's a great point just to ask, hey, community, please comment on this stuff.
Even our other associations, I think, could do a better job of social media content, even in any aspect.
For sure.
Like you said, it's not that hard to make a post regularly and share some tournament ideas. Any association or any bowling center or whatever. The social media is like, there's billion people on social media. We lost it for a day, and then everyone's like, how do we communicate with each other? Like, what are we going to do?
Right.
We'd have to pick up the phone or send an email or something, right? So it's an easy way to pass information to people. So I think it's a very powerful marketing tool for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially like we talk about how bowling's community is so big and important, and I feel sometimes we lack that on the social media side. So thank you.
Yeah, not that we don't do a good job of it. Like the tours are getting there, but
yeah, for sure.
Hey, Mark, Daryl Bradley here.
Daryl.
Some news for you. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but your boss sent me an email and has informed me that you weren't approved for the time off this weekend. So I hate to break that bad news to you. Hey, my question is, as a bowler that's definitely been at the prime, you've national championships, TSN wins, and maybe went through a bit of a slump. Last year, Regina Open, definitely had some success. What drives you, and do you feel pressure and expectations going into here this weekend of Autumn Open? Making the finals, making top 40. Where do you feel things are at that side of things? Do you feel the pressure, or you're okay with where you're at?
I don't know necessarily feel the pressure. I definitely have been a lot in the past years. I don't feel the pressure because I feel like I'm physically and mentally in a better place than I have been in the last couple of years. So I think that is driving me forward. I feel better. I've done a lot of physical work to get myself to a place where I need to be. Mental work too. I watch videos. I search and look for positive things to look at. I've watched Tom Patterson videos, things like that. So I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm really close. I feel like I'm close. My game's been picked up in I've played a fair amount in the last couple of months. Different events like the 5-pin U 8-gamer. I've played the Pro League. I've played regular league. I've done pre-bowls. I've played in like Stettler and the little doubles tournament. I also played in the Boxing Day and Sherwood. So I feel like I'm fairly prepared and I feel like I'm ready.
Hey, Johnny, just kind of switching directions here. Along with your bowling resume, you've built a reputation for creating some pretty killer bowling shirts that you see all across the tour. I think we'd be kind of missing a great a marketing opportunity if I didn't ask this one specific question. Anyone looking for a shirt, whatever it may be, some sort of line of clothing, doesn't necessarily have to pertain to bowling. How can they reach you, and what do you recommend in those terms?
Honestly, we can go to our website. So bradsongroup.com is a good place for information. There's lots of products and stuff searching on. But honestly, pick up the phone, give us a call. You can also send me an email, mark@bradsongroup.com. You can give our office a call, and we can talk about things. Some people think I just do bowling shirts, or I just do pens, or we just do hoodies or hats or whatever. We kind of do pretty much anything. So any type of avenue, just pick up the phone and give me a call, send me an email. I like emails. I tell people this all the time because sometimes I get a lot of messages on Facebook, and I got so many different avenues that information's coming at me. So email is a good place where I can remember things and keep track of everything. But yeah, however you want to do, just pick up the phone and call me, and we can help you out in any way. Yeah, pretty much. That answers your question.
Yeah, and just along with that, Mark, is obviously you do raise some funds, create some revenue for the WCBT in some of the shirts and some of the hats. So tell us more a little bit about your involvement and what you specifically do for WCBT on the merch side of things.
Yeah, so all the hats, all the merch we build in, we make a fair. BBG makes money, but WCBT makes money too. So we try to keep it fair for everybody, that we can have reasonable prices on our items. So every item, like a hoodie, is $10 to $15 is going to go back to the tour. All the hats, towels are a huge seller, probably by me because I lose them every time. But so we have a portion of the proceeds all go back to the tour, and that helps. It really helps. Like we make probably a few $1,000s a year on merch sales just to help with the tour championship, to make that better, to make the filming better, to hopefully give travel prize money back to the bowlers, and just make everything cool. And maybe eventually we can give money back to the tournaments too. So the merch is a huge thing, and it keeps us alive, gives us a little slush fund to do little things, make signs and banners if we need to, all that kind of things.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Johnstone, Vice President of the WCB Tour. Our first event of the 2021-2022 WCBT season. Can't wait to see you out on lanes, and hope you play well, and good luck.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. That is our first press conference of the season. Thanks very much to anybody. Go ahead if you guys want to say your thanks, but I just want to say thanks to all the media groups that joined us here. Daryl for 5-Pin U, Jeff Young, JB Rainsberger, the 260 bowler, and Amanda Devaney out of Manitoba. You guys have been fantastic, and you brought up a lot of great questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good stuff, Kerry. Looking forward to seeing everybody this weekend at the Autumn Open.
All right, and we'll sign off. See everybody at the Autumn Open.